Right now, the world is facing a pandemic, but fear fuels the fire. And often, the fear of what we don't know can be more powerful and more destructive than whatever it is we fear. And the media know this. They try to frighten people. They want us to see the worst, to believe the worst. But if we have faith, if we hang on to hope, we can unite together, and that unity will strengthen us. It will help us overcome whatever difficulties or trials may come our way. Welcome to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Songs Club. Today's podcast is titled, What Are Your Fears? Are you afraid? Do you have fears? Everyone has fears, but it's about confronting our fears, knowing what we are afraid of, and then pushing forward, realizing that faith can overcome and overpower any fear we may have. It's interesting because the media, they continually promote fear. We live in a time period when fear is sensationalized. We can look around the world and see what is going on in the world. Right now, the world is facing a pandemic, but fear fuels the fire. And often, the fear of what we don't know can be more powerful and more destructive than whatever it is we fear. And the media know this. They try to frighten people. They want us to see the worst, to believe the worst. But if we have faith, if we hang on to hope, we can unite together, and that unity will strengthen us. It will help us overcome whatever difficulties or trials may come our way. So today we're going to talk about what fear is, and more important, what faith is. From my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers, I would like to read a page titled, Conquer Your Fears. This is on page 48 from the book. And this is what it says. Conquer your fears. We are all afraid of something. Most fear is unnecessary and creates worry, anxiety, trauma, and undesirable side effects, resulting in poor physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial health. In my opinion, there are 4 main levels of fear each of us must pass through, and on which we must continually work and improve. 1. The fear of ridicule. 2. The fear of abandonment. 3. The fear of the unknown. And 4. The fear of not doing the right thing. The first fear, the fear of ridicule, is the fear of embarrassment, worrying and focusing too much on what other people say and think about us, or what we fear they might say or think about us. The second fear, the fear of abandonment, is the fear that, based on our good or bad choices, we may be abandoned by our family members, friends, co-workers, neighbors, those we trust and admire most. This fear may cause us to feel alone, unaccepted, and unwanted. The third fear, the fear of the unknown, is the fear of what might be. This fear is the fear of the future, what we don't know and haven't done before. The fourth fear, the fear of not doing the right thing, is when our fear in life focuses on not doing what should be done. This is a good fear to have. When we reach this level, our main priority is doing what is right at all times. We no longer regard the previous three fears because our primary prerogative in life is in being honest, true, having character and integrity. The only thing we should fear is that we are not doing our best, having character or striving to be better. We would be wise to eliminate the first three fears and embrace the fourth fear. Now, fear is a very, very difficult virus because fear can actually prevent us from doing what we should be doing. You see, when we fear, we don't think sensibly, rationally. We act in such a way and we do and say things we normally would not do if we were not afraid, because fear stifles our strength. It weakens us. Fear causes us to act irrationally, when ordinarily we would be very rational and we would think things through. But see, fear causes us to focus on external problems, situations, many of which we do not have control over any of the outcomes of these various problems and situations, and as a result, we cannot control what does or does not happen. But the fear, that inability to gain or regain control, causes us to lose control, because fear is the opposite of faith. Faith is focusing on what we can control. Faith is realizing that many things that are beyond our control, it is out of our control, but we can still be in control of ourselves because we put our faith in others. We put our faith in God. We put our faith in humanity, in our neighbors, in our families, our loved ones. We put our faith in ourselves. We trust our neighbors. We listen to our leaders because faith is a very powerful force. Just as fear is a deadly virus, faith is a powerful substance. The more faith we have, the more secure we will be, regardless of what the outcome may be, because we are putting our faith and trust in those around us, in a higher power. And by doing that, we eliminate the fear. Then the fear does not have any hold over us, and we can act rationally. We can be calm, collected. We can hope. Now, this does not mean that we do not experience pain or suffering, that we do not have sorrow. We can still endure terrible tribulations, but have faith. We can be sick and sad and filled with sorrow, but we can still have hope in tomorrow. We hunger for hope. Humanity hungers for a hope that often we cannot give ourselves, but it's looking for the good, even when surrounded by bad. Hope helps us and heals us because we start to focus on the positivity and ignore the negativity. Now, that does not mean that we negate or believe it does not exist, because we do know that it exists. But we would rather prefer to be fueled by faith than to fall by fear. We would rather focus on what we can accomplish and do right now than worry about what may never be done and what we may never accomplish. But we can put our faith in ourselves, in our knowledge, our intelligence, in our strength, in our endurance. Put our faith in our capacity to love others, to be loved by others, that we can strengthen each other and encourage each other. So we should focus on faith more than fear. For the Motivation in a Minute portion of this podcast, I would like to read a quote on page 171 of my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. This is by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said this: "I believe that anyone can conquer fear by doing the thing he fears to do, provided he keeps doing them until he gets a record of successful experiences behind him." For the Music Within portion of this podcast, I would like to have us listen to a song I composed titled A Season to Be Strong. So A Season to Be Strong is a song that was inspired to help the youth remember who they are. It's a single, and this single features my twin brother, Josh Simon. He and I sing a duet. He is singing the lead vocals, and I am singing harmony. A Season to Be Strong was originally composed when I was 17 years old. It was in the summer of 1998. At the time, I was entering my senior year of high school, and I had been asked to compose a theme song for the high school students attending seminary. It's a church-sponsored curriculum for high school students to study the scriptures and learn about prophets, morals, and becoming more Christ-like. The theme for the students that year was A Season to Be Strong. The following is a quote by Gordon B. Hinckley, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at the time when I composed this song. He said, "Now, my brethren and sisters, the time has come for us to stand a little taller, to lift our eyes and stretch our minds to a greater comprehension and understanding of the grand millennial mission of this, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is a season to be strong. It is a time to move forward without hesitation, knowing well the meaning, the breadth, and the importance of our mission. It is a time to do what is right, regardless of the consequences that might follow. It is a time to be found keeping the commandments. It is a season to reach out with kindness and love to those in distress and to those who are wandering in darkness and pain. It is a time to be considerate and good, decent and courteous toward one another in all of our relationships. In other words, to become more Christ-like." With that quote as my resource, I actually sat down to the piano and began composing something, a simple little melody. Let me read to you what I actually put down into words about this experience. I composed A Season to Be Strong in the summer of 1998. At the time, I was on the Weber High School Seminary Council. We had met during the summer to plan our year of 1998 to 1999. We talked about themes and planned various activities. Our theme for the year was A Season to Be Strong. It was taken from a talk given by the president of the church at the time, Gordon B. Hinckley. I was designated as the one who would compose the theme song for the seminary students. After studying the quote by President Hinckley about standing a little taller and stretching our minds to a greater comprehension, I knew I needed to compose a song focusing on becoming more Christ-like. Since our theme for the year was A Season to Be Strong, I decided to make that the title as well. I remember sitting at the piano with a blank sheet of paper with only the title written at the top. To begin, I offered a silent prayer, asking for heavenly help to create what God wanted me to compose. What happened next for me was a personal manifestation that God inspires us, and we are all instruments in His hands. I have composed many songs in my lifetime, but no song ever came to me so quickly, both musically and lyrically. I personally believe as a composer that when we are on the Lord's errand, we compose with heaven's help. It was as though the music and lyrics were being played into my mind and heart by angels, and I desperately tried to capture every word and note as quickly as I could so I would not miss the music or lose the lyrics. Within 15 to 20 minutes, I had the entire song and all of the words finished. It was a sacred and deeply sanctifying experience. I have had similar spiritual musical experiences before and since, but not to this magnitude. That morning at the piano, time stood still and the world was in perfect harmony. So I'd like to have you listen to A Season to Be Strong.
In this world when so many souls have lost their way, seeking truth today, we must stay by each other all the way. Help us follow your love and light. Let us do what we know is right. Help us learn to pray with all our might. We need a season to be strong, to follow the right and forsake the wrong. Give us this season to belong, to serve with truth and might and love, to carry on in this our season to be strong. This is a time to find the souls who aimlessly wander around. This is our time to let the good in life be found. We need a season to be strong, to follow the right and forsake the wrong. Give us this season to belong, to serve with truth and might and love, to carry on in this our season to be strong. Help us be like him who sent us from above. Help us see that we belong together in our season to be
For the poetry that motivates portion of this podcast, I would like to read a poem I wrote from my book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry. This poem is titled The Grumbles. It's on page 100 of the book. This is what it says. Mr. Grumble grumbled and griped like grumbles do. He murmured and muttered. He fretted and fluttered and whined like babies do. The Grumbles were always grumbling. It's all they ever knew. They grumbled at work. They grumbled for fun. They're Grumbles, and it's what they do. If you feel like you're related, grumble all you want. They'll gladly grumble with you, then make fun of you, tease you, and taunt. Now, that poem is about a family known as the Grumbles. They're always grumbling. In many ways, they're always afraid. They're always murmuring. They're always whining and complaining and looking for everything that could and should go wrong in any situation. And what I hoped to portray through that short little poem is that we can be Grumbles if we choose, or we can choose not to be Grumbles. The choice is ours. We can focus on faith, or we can focus on fear. And for me personally, I feel so much better when I focus on faith. When I focus on fear, I feel sick, both mentally and often physically, because fear stops us in our track. Fear brings worry. Fear destroys us from within. If we focus on faith, then we can have faith that we're doing the very best we can. And we will know that everyone around us is doing the very best they can. That will help us have more empathy and sympathy. It will help us be more understanding. We will start to become more of the solution and less of the problem. We all have a choice. And it is my hope that we will choose the best in life. We all make mistakes. I make so many mistakes every day. But all I can do and hope to do is to improve and be better, to do my best, and to continually strive to do better. And it's my hope that everyone else will continue to do their best as well, that we can all progress and improve together. We can focus on faith and not be bound by fear, especially during these difficult and trying times. The world is facing a pandemic, but we don't need to panic. We can be careful. We can be cautious. We can do our part. We can love and serve others. We can pray for others. But if we can focus on faith instead of fear, that focus will give us a greater sense of direction and purpose. Our minds will be enlightened. Our spirits will be strengthened. We can hang on to hope and focus on faith. And as we do so, we will find the best in even the worst situations. We will look for the good. We will help others smile, even when they feel as if the world has fallen apart. We can help them put the pieces back together again. And we can focus on what we can do collectively and individually to make this world a better place. It can start with one person who has faith, who hopes for a better day. And then that one person inspires another until a ripple effect occurs. And we see families and neighborhoods, communities, cities, counties, states, nations, and worlds changing for the better as we focus on faith instead of fear. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I would love to hear from you. What is going on in your life? What you are doing? What obstacles you are overcoming? Feel free to connect with me on any of my social media sites at Jerald Simon, JeraldSimon. You can visit my website, musicmotivation.com. And you can also watch YouTube videos I have come out with that focus on music, motivation, and more. That is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jerald Simon, JeraldSimon. Thanks again for listening. I hope you have a happy and hopeful day, that you make the best of every situation, that you do your best and strive to do better. Thanks again for listening. Have a magical day. Smile all the while. And have fun. Thanks, guys. Bye. Subscribe to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast with Jerald Simon, to receive updates about each new weekly podcast. Every Monday, a new podcast is released to help motivate and inspire individuals to learn, to grow, to do, to be, and become the very best they can become. These are all motivational messages that inspire men and women of all ages to do and be their best, to set goals, to work on improving who they are and who they would like to become. Thank you again for listening. Connect with us on social media to become part of the conversation as we all work together to motivate each other to do and be our best. Thanks for listening to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon, and I am grateful to have you listen to this podcast. Every Monday we come out with a brand new podcast, and you can listen to it on any of the podcast streaming sites available. Just search for Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast with Jerald Simon. Any of the music that I've shared in these podcasts, you can listen to. All of my music is available on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, Amazon, and any streaming site available. You can also check out my music books at musicmotivation.com. And you can find my poetry, self-help, and motivational books available from Amazon.com, from Barnes & Noble, and from all different online shops and stores. If you have any questions about the music that I create through my company, Music Motivation, you can learn more at musicmotivation.com, and you can visit my website, coolsongsclub.com, to learn more about how I create fun, cool piano music that helps motivate piano students to want to play the piano the fun way, especially during their teenage years. I'd love to have you check that out. But thank you again for listening. Please feel free to connect with me on any of the social media sites out there. You can watch my YouTube videos on youtube.com/Jerald Simon. You can connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all social media sites at Jerald Simon. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, keep up the great work and have fun. See you guys. Bye.